I took a break from editing to watch Game of Thrones and drink like, I don't know, 900 Kool-Aid. Whoa! It's incredible. I love Game of Thrones. Damn. I'm gonna edit the rest of this video and, you know, usually I'm PG rated, but damn. I'm not this time. Nope. Freaking fantastic. Damn dogs. Look guys, I'm sitting. Aren't you proud of me? That way I'm not bouncing around so much. But I know I'm still pretty all over the place when it comes down to it. Anyways, this is the Magnetar. That's right, the Magnetar. Kind of sounds like I'm sorry. But it's not, it's the Magnetar. Anyways, guys, so a little bit about this tower. I had high hopes for Rosewill with this tower, and when I was offered by Newegg, thank you Newegg, by the way, for giving me the opportunity to take a look at it, to see what Rosewill came out with as far as a new mid-tower implementation that'll be pretty cool, pretty outrageous, and pretty good price. And it is a $69 price point, which is pretty good, but you got to consider too that they're competing with things like NZXT's S340 when you start looking at this kind of price range for this sort of mid-tower. Let's go over some of the things we don't like about it though. Why don't we have hanging thumb screws in this? I mean, that just seems like it should be a gimme these days. Like, that's just not a thing. We actually have to take them off and make sure we don't lose them. If you're like me, you've probably lost them before in the past. So we take the side panel off. We'll notice that it's acrylic, and when I got mine out of the box, it was wrapped, and it was actually already scratched. And where is that scratch at? There it is. It was already scratched. That'll bring some dismay to you. It's also a little bit on the flimsy, flexible side, which is kind of meh. You would hope for a little bit better, but that's just sort of the way of things and how they are sometimes. So when we look inside right away, we notice we don't have the basement power supply shroud. I don't like that that's not in here. I just think that a basement shroud would have gone a long ways. Even if you wanted to leave a cutout here for mounting radiators, that would have been cool. That also brings me to this cage up here, this 5¼ inch dry bay cage, which is cool because there is a cutout on the front of the tower. But the problem with it is it's designed for two, but there's only one cutout in the front. So it just seems like recycled stuff you had left over, and we're slightly riveted in here is what it appears. These might be screws on the front panel. We'll look at that in a minute. Anyways, you might notice on the inside we have plenty of room for mounting and plenty of room for cable management so that we have plenty of slots and cutouts. The downside to that is we don't have rubber grommets. I would have liked to have seen some rubber grommets in here. That would have been really cool, especially to make up for the fact that there's nowhere to really hide this down here. Rubber grommets can help a lot with not only protecting your cables, but also making them less dirty and unappealing to look at when they're coming through these cutouts. So that would have been cool. In the front of the tower, we have two 120mm fans that you can get for like $5 on eBay. I think these have long since gone the way of the past and should just be left out of towers. And I know that Rosewill has far better things they could have put in here than this, such as this rear exhaust fan in the back. Would have just been much cleaner, much nicer looking. But they didn't. They went with these kind of cheesy at this point in time looking light up blue, clear, loud fans. I'm a little disappointed in that. But besides that, you know, that's what you get. So there is a dust filter on this thing, which is pretty nice. The dust filter is actually a rear extraction dust filter, but it's also a clip-in one, so a little bit of a pain to get out. It's a decent dust filter. It's not bad at all. It's actually quite nice, good quality. It's about the only real luxury thing on this tower. I do like this dust filter. I do wish that it was, you know, this way, or maybe from the front, but instead you got to go to the back. So if you want to take that dust filter off, you got to pull the tower out, go behind it. Kind of defeats the purpose of the convenience that it had to offer. You have 3 points of mounting for SSD drives. You can mount your SSDs here. You can mount your SSDs on the back. You can even, if you wanted to get fancy and creative and leave this 5¼ bay drive, mount it up there. Let's touch on this again real quick. Some people will like that there's a 5¼ inch drive bay, but most people nowadays won't. That's sort of kind of that 80-20% thing. Not a lot of people use these anymore. If you're gonna use CD drives, most people are like me. You'll just kind of round it USB and Velcro it under the desk, tape it to the side of the desk, somewhere out of sight. You might even keep it in a drawer until you actually need it. It's not really something that is an appealing feature anymore in towers, so it kind of looks a little antiquated to see one of these still inside of a tower. It's also antiquated to not see that shroud that I'm really upset isn't on here. So this is actually pretty cool. I like the fact that you can mount your 3.5 drive right here. I like the fact that you can mount a 3.5 drive right here. That's something that's pretty awesome. Also, cable management in the back, they leave you a good gap of room to work with. So if you can't route your cables and you can't twist time and make them look nice and neat, there's a problem elsewhere in the whole design of how you do things. But you can definitely do that here. Now there's a bunch of openings that I think rubber grommets, like I mentioned, would cover up and prevent. So say you're tying things down here, well, they're gonna kind of stick out in some places. It would have been nice for those grommets to help conceal that a little bit, yet they're not here. So you have other places where you can mount those SSDs too right here on the back. And even if you wanted to really mount one backwards right here, get some black screws and mount it backwards if possible. We get our little bag of tools right here. And this always gets me. Toolless design. Once you get that screwdriver and take that screw out, the rest of it's toolless. So the front of it's a little bit on the generic looking side, I think, and that's definitely something worth mentioning. It's a lot more of the same thing that we see across different kinds of more cheaper, more budget-oriented types of towers. The good thing is it's not glossy, so you don't have to worry about leaving those fingerprints, and I'm sure you can hear me dusting my fingers all over it. It's a nice kind of brushed anodized black metal up here, and the front is all plastic. It's a completely plastic grill setup. You have the one cutout for your 5 1/4 if you decide to go that route, but it blends in pretty nice if you decide not to go that route as well. Now, the I/O panels themselves, a little bit on the lackluster side. You have two USB 2.0s, one USB 3.0. You have your audio headphone jack and your audio microphone jack in the front, as would be expected. Luckily, I found the power button that was in the box because that was totally not on the tower when I got it out of the box. You also have a reset switch. Reset switch is pretty much not as useful as it used to be this day and age anyways. So what I usually do with reset switches is if we go with something like AGO fans, we'll splice it, cut it, and make this the controller for the RGB on the AGO fans. If I didn't go with something like Air or Thermaltake's ring fans. But that's just, you know, there and that. So pulling that front section off is not that difficult. We'll actually do that and take a look here where we can see our exposed fans, which will light up through this as well. There's a nice dust mesh all over this. This will not be easy to clean. That should be mentioned. It's just kind of a mesh you can take out and wipe down, maybe blow off with some aerosol can, but it's for the most part not that awesome. I like how there's two cutouts right here, by the way, for the 5 1/4 drive bay, but only one accessible port on the actual outside of the panel. So I suppose if you didn't want to use the panel here, you could actually just leave it faceless like this, but that's weird. And I would definitely probably replace these fans. I don't like these fans at all. I'm not a big fan of those. Guys, I almost forgot. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at 8-6 Media. And you guys have a great day, night, whatever it is. I'll see you in the next video that I do.